Good morning, and thanks for tuning in to Nadya's Identity Files. I missed you, but I'm back. I'm back on track here in Los Angeles. I was traveling for, I guess it was 10 days or so between New York City and Maryland. I hope you enjoyed the replay of the March 14th episode with Jane Starr. Quite possibly one of my most entertaining and borderline chaotic episodes that I've had to date, but it was super awesome, and hope you enjoyed watching that again. So obviously, I'm sure, but I don't know, I'm being a little presumptuous here, probably about 5,001 things have gone down in your lives since we last kind of met virtually. But remember the big storm that the East Coast got slammed with? Well, it was crazy because I was one of 2 flights that did not get canceled that day. And I did obviously get to see and walk through New York City and see all of the snow, some of which was dusted with a lot of dirt and debris. And I also had the honor of getting my shoes like completely submerged in snow and water, which did not feel so good, but I felt super legit New Yorker in that moment, kind of. You know, each time I travel to New York, I'm struck by how diverse the city is. It really is a true melting pot. For me, it feels like this awesome haven, like this hub of multiple identities. And when I say that, I'm not just referencing to the ethnic diversity that clearly dominates the greater New York area, but I'm also referring to a lot of different subcultures and personalities. And it's fascinating to me how everybody is just kind of enmeshed with one another. Whereas here in Los Angeles, even though it's a super diverse place, it's like you don't really see it up close and personal all the time. I mean, clearly I'm here facing Hollywood Boulevard, Hollywood and Vine, so I am seeing a lot of diversity, a lot of characters walking by. Haven't seen my friend the Pigeon Man yet, but I'm hoping he will, stumble through. But I think because people are, mostly in their cars and moving from place to place, whereas in New York everyone's on the subway and in public transit, we don't have the same opportunity to experience the rich diversity that is here. So that said, it's really important that we travel from outside of our comfort zones and into different neighborhoods to experience the diversity that is here, that we just don't have at the same face value that New Yorkers have. And on the note of neighborhoods, when I was in New York, I got on the wrong train. I was using Google Maps, and Google Maps navigated me to the wrong subway station. I was like, I have a feeling this isn't correct, but I'm up for the adventure. So I got on the train, and as I, started to detect I was in the wrong spot, I just hopped off the train and ended up in the neighborhood of Jackson Heights, Queens. I was staying in Astoria, Queens, so Jackson Heights wasn't too far from Astoria. And as soon as I got off the subway, all I smelled were terrific spices. I smelled a lot of turmeric and cumin and cardamom and ginger. And that's because Jackson Heights is one of the most dense Asian Indian populations in the greater New York area. I don't have the exact numbers of Asian Indian people that live there, but it is actually one of the most concentrated neighborhoods there. So I hung out and I wanted to check out a few restaurants, but I was starting to get snowed on and rained on, and that didn't feel so good. So unfortunately, I had to call an Uber and go back to where I was staying. Today, we are going to focus on Asian Indian identity, and specifically in the context of the entertainment industry. Believe it or not, and you probably already know this, maybe you don't, I don't know, being presumptuous again, I guess, LA does not have a particularly dense Asian Indian population. After New York, I think San Francisco comes in second at the most dense Asian Indian population at about 300,000, whereas the greater New York area has over 610,000 people. So apparently, the Asian Indian population in the U.S. is one of the fastest growing populations of people, according to a 2010 U.S. Census report, jumping from 1.6 million and that was in 2000, to close to 3 million in 2010. So I was kind of digging around for some updated stats and I couldn't come across anything, but I'm sure it does continue to grow. And considering that, this is a pretty large segment of the population, it would make sense for this group of people to be represented in a way that highlights their diversity within their own ethnicity, rather than being struck with the underrepresentation that we're dealing with today. So that's what we're going to dig in with. I will be sitting down with Rasha Goel and Majendra Singh to discuss being Indian in Hollywood and explore their multifaceted identities. They are both super accomplished in their own right. Rasha Goel, and this is a condensed bio, by the way, like her bio is like Dead Sea Scrolls length big because she's so accomplished. I had to condense it. She actually found her footing at a young age. She established herself as a TV host. She is a graduate of UCLA in mass communications. She's a red carpet reporter and an international correspondent. She's also a local anchor reporter for an Emmy-winning LA news magazine, LA This Week. On the international front, she has worked with the top South Asian networks, including ZTV, Times Now, MTV, Asia, Star TV, and is currently with the French network F24. Ooh la la. I need to check out that one. Rasha is also an Emmy-nominated host and Emmy-nominated producer. Honestly, when I first met her, I was like, wow, she's so sweet, so down to earth, so humble. Somebody that I definitely look up to. So super psyched to talk with her today about her many professional identities and about her thoughts on being Indian in Hollywood. She doesn't just do hosting and multimedia broadcasting, however. She's also involved in acting. She's appeared on shows like CBS's Scorpion, Angel from Hell, which I'm not familiar with. I want to know about this Angel from Hell, big time. ABC's Chasing Life, and she has co-produced a web series called Cha Do. And, you can, let me know, Rasha, if I completely butchered that, but I'm assuming Cha Do. And she's voicing the comedy and difficulties of growing up and being part of an immigrant family in the U.S. Looking forward to chatting with her. Secondly, but not lastly, Majendra Singh is a self-taught, award-winning director and writer whose script Runaway Dreamer was a finalist in the Sundance International Screenwriters Lab. His short film Blind Date made the rounds in the festival circuit, garnering awards and nominations. His topical films The Report and Safe got him recognition and awards. He has a somewhat of a dark sensibility in his work, which I'm super into. It's almost Lynchian, and we're going to check out his director's reel when we chat, and I'm very much looking forward to that. It's going to be a really awesome episode. After I interview them both individually, we of course will have our roundtable discussion. But first, I have to go into my brief identity news briefing, and that was redundant, but forgive me because I am somewhat jet-lagged. All right, so as you remember, on March 14th, Jane and I sat down and we talked about gender identity and specifically in the capacity of the transgender community. Now, obviously, she is very much an individual and doesn't really align herself with the community, but she acknowledged that these issues and circumstances are still really important to discuss. Well, apparently CBS recently explored transgender identity in their documentary Gender, the Space Between, and it takes a deeper look into the complexities of gender identity and gender expression. They also released one day before on the 27th, I think it was, no, they released it on the 24th, and the documentary released yesterday. You can watch it on CBSnews.com, I believe, and it was a gender identity glossary, and it probably has, I guess, over 20 terms or something like that you can look into and educate yourself on the nuances and complexities of gender. So check it out. To look at it, you have to go to cbsnews.com/news/transgender-identity-terms-glossary, or just Google transgender glossary in CBS News and it'll come right up. Something else I want to highlight very quickly, because I apparently am talking my ass off in my intro today, and I have a big screen in front of me that says 0 seconds. Anyway, Greg Gutfeld for Fox News, obviously not my favorite news platform, as you might guess, published an op-ed entitled Identity Politics, the Biological Fraud. Essentially, he was harping on how the progressive left is causing a big divide with, the discussion of identity politics, kind of like I do different groups, and so on and so forth. And, he really showcased more than his knowledge of any of this information was mostly his white fragility. I mean, here is a cisgender white male who's probably straight. I mean, I'm assuming he's straight, harping about, feeling like he's being attacked, and how the idea of white privilege is false, and this and that and the other thing. And it's just, ugh. If you want to be annoyed, Google it and read it. One last piece of identity news. I just want to give a shout out to my mom. Hello, Mom, who came across a 2-month-old obituary of Zygmunt Bauman, who is a Jewish sociologist and author who studied the nuances of identity, and with particular attention to issues concerning privilege. He has this book called Modernity and the Holocaust, which was published in 1989, which in many ways is a harbinger for the issues that we're dealing with today with respect to you know what I'm talking about, our friends in the White House. So look him up. His name is Zygmunt Bauman, Zygmunt Bauman. And I myself am going to do some deeper digging into his work. Stay tuned. I'll be right back with Rasha, and we will be chatting more about identity. Thank you.